The chipped nail polish. That's what I noticed first. My younger sister had always kept her nails perfect every 2 weeks at the salon like clockwork. French tips, always French tips. But that Wednesday morning in late October, standing outside the free clinic on Peachtree Street in Atlanta, with her 6-year-old daughter clinging to her hip, her nails were bare except for the ghost of old polish peeling at the edges. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. I'd been volunteering at that clinic every Wednesday for 2 years, ever since I retired from the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. 28 years tracking down tax cheats, money launderers, and fraudsters, and now I spent my mornings taking blood pressure readings and handing out pamphlets about diabetes prevention. It was quiet work. Peaceful. The kind of thing you do when you've spent 3 decades watching people destroy each other over money, and you need to remember that some people still just want to help. But I never expected to see my own sister walk through those doors. She didn't see me at first. She was at the front desk, speaking quietly, her hand wrapped around my niece's small fingers like a lifeline. My niece Emma was pressing her face into my sister's leg, coughing, not a little cough. A deep, rattling cough that made my chest tighten just hearing it. "Lisa." She turned, and for a split second I saw pure panic flash across her face before she forced a smile. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. The kind of smile that's holding back something terrible. "Hey, sis, what are you doing here?" "I volunteer here." I kept my voice calm. I'd spent almost 3 decades interviewing people who were hiding things. I knew that if I pushed too hard right now, she'd shut down completely. "What's going on with Emma? She sounds sick." Lisa glanced around the waiting room, the plastic chairs, the fluorescent lights, the other patients pretending not to listen. "Just a cold. It's been hanging on for a couple weeks." I figured I'd get her checked out. A couple weeks. A 6-year-old with a cough that sounded like that, for a couple weeks, and she was bringing her to a free clinic instead of her pediatrician. "Where's Ryan?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Her husband of 7 years. The real estate investor who always had a deal closing next week, who wore expensive watches and talked about passive income streams at Thanksgiving dinner. Why didn't he take her to Dr. Patterson? Something shifted behind her eyes. "Ryan's been traveling for work. A lot of closings out of state. And our insurance is we're between plans right now. He's switching to a new firm and there's a gap in coverage." A gap in coverage. Lisa was a registered nurse at Emory University Hospital. She had excellent benefits through her own employer. Why would she need Ryan's insurance? "Lisa, your job gives you insurance. What happened to your plan?" She blinked rapidly. Ryan said we should consolidate everything under his plan since it was better, so I dropped mine during open enrollment last year. And now with the switch, she trailed off. Emma tugged on her sleeve. "Mama, my throat hurts." "I know, baby. We're going to see the doctor soon." I looked at Emma, really looked at her. Her jacket was zipped up to her chin even though it wasn't that cold yet. October in Atlanta, maybe 60 degrees outside. Her shoes were scuffed, the soles worn thin on one side. And she was thinner than when I'd seen her at my birthday dinner in July. 3 months ago, she'd been a bouncy, chatty little girl who wouldn't stop talking about starting first grade. Now she was quiet and pressed against her mother's body like she was trying to disappear. "Have you two had breakfast?" I asked. Lisa's jaw tightened. "We're fine." That wasn't an answer. "Come with me. Both of you. I'm going to get Emma seen by Dr. Rivera right now. She's the pediatrician here. She's wonderful, and then you and I are going to sit down and talk." "I can't." "Ryan calls to check in at 10, and if I don't answer..." "Lisa." I said it the way our mother used to say it. Firm but gentle. The way that means I love you and I'm not asking. "Come with me." Dr. Rivera took one listen to Emma's chest, and her expression told me everything. This child has bronchitis that's heading toward pneumonia. She looked at Lisa. "How long has she been coughing like this?" "About 3 weeks," Lisa said quietly. 3 weeks. My hands went cold. Dr. Rivera prescribed antibiotics and an inhaler, handed them directly to me when she saw me hovering. She needs rest, fluids, and she needs to stay warm. If her fever goes above 102, take her to the ER immediately. After Emma was settled in the break room with a warm blanket, a juice box, and cartoons on my phone, I closed the door and turned to my sister. "Talk to me. Right now. Everything." And Lisa, my sister, who was always the steady one, the caretaker, the nurse who could hold it together through 12-hour shifts in the ICU without flinching, she crumbled. It came out in pieces, between sobs and whispered sentences and long pauses where she just stared at her hands. They'd been living in a motel, the Starlight Inn on Buford Highway, $49 a night, paid in cash, for the past 6 weeks. Before that, they'd been staying in their car, a 2019 Camry that Lisa had bought with her own savings, parked behind grocery stores and in church parking lots for almost a month. Their house, the 3-bedroom ranch in Decatur that Lisa had put the down payment on with her nursing salary, the house where she'd painted Emma's room yellow with sunflowers on the walls, was gone. Ryan told her he'd had to sell it in a short sale because they were drowning in debt. Debt that he said was Lisa's fault. He showed me credit card statements, she said, her voice hollow. Thousands and thousands of dollars in charges. Luxury handbags, jewelry, spa treatments, things I never bought. But my name was on everything, my signatures on every application. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. I tried to check once. About 4 months ago, I sat down at the computer and tried to log into our bank accounts. Ryan walked in, and she paused. He didn't hit me. He never hit me. But he grabbed the laptop and slammed it shut and started yelling, saying I was the reason we were in this mess, that if I wanted to go behind his back and check up on him when he was the one trying to fix everything, then maybe I didn't deserve his help. He said the bank had flagged my accounts because of suspicious activity, and if I tried to access them, they'd freeze everything and we'd lose the house. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I know how it sounds. I'm a nurse. I'm educated. I should have known better. But it didn't happen all at once. It started small. He said he was better with money. He offered to handle the bills so I could focus on work and Emma. It felt like he was being helpful. And then one day I realized I didn't have the password to a single account with my name on it. I kept my face still, but inside, the cold analytical machinery that had served me through 28 years of federal criminal investigation was already running. Every detail she told me was clicking into place like tumblers in a lock. Where does Ryan say he's living? With his friend Jake. They have an apartment somewhere in Buckhead. I'm not supposed to know the address. Ryan says if I show up there, Jake will think I'm crazy and unstable, and Ryan's been telling Jake that I have a spending addiction, so if you contradicted Ryan's story, it would look like you were the problem. She nodded miserably. What about Emma? Does Ryan see her? He came by the motel last Tuesday, stayed for 20 minutes, gave me $60 for the week, and told me that if I went to anyone for help, my job, social services, he had documentation, that I was an unfit mother. He said he had photos of Emma sleeping in the car, records of me missing work, evidence that I'd been financially reckless. He said he'd get full custody, and I'd never see her again. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. In the other room, I could hear Emma coughing. Lisa, I said carefully, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. When was the last time you accessed your retirement account, your 403A/B through Emory? She went white. I can't, Ryan said. The hospital put a hold on it because of a garnishment. Some creditor filed a claim. He said his lawyer was handling it. Hospitals don't put holds on employee retirement accounts because of personal credit issues. That's not how any of it works. She stared at me. Lisa, I think Ryan has been systematically stealing your identity. I think he forged your signatures, opened credit lines in your name, drained your retirement savings, sold your house, and pocketed everything. And I think he's been keeping you isolated, broke, and terrified so you wouldn't figure it out. But the statements, the charges, they had my name. Forged, all of it. I've seen this exact scheme 100 times. The only difference is that this time, it's my sister. She grabbed my wrist so hard her knuckles went white. If what you're saying is true, Pat, what do I do? I have an $80 motel room and a sick daughter and $60 in cash. I can't go to the police. He'll take Emma. He won't take anything from you. Ever again. I covered her hand with mine. I spent 28 years as a criminal investigator for the IRS. I've dismantled fraud operations that moved hundreds of millions of dollars. I've put people in federal prison for exactly what Ryan is doing, and I am going to take apart every single thing he's built on your name, piece by piece, until there's nothing left." She looked at me the way you look at someone who's offering you a rope when you're drowning. "But I need you to trust me completely. Can you do that?" She nodded. "Good. First thing, give me your phone." She handed it over. I powered it off and removed the SIM card. "He's been tracking you through this. Probably has your location shared to his phone. From now on, you use this." I pulled a prepaid phone from my bag. I always carried one. Old habits from undercover work. "Only call me on this. Do not contact Ryan. Do not tell anyone where you are." That afternoon, I checked Lisa and Emma into a hotel near my house, a real hotel, with clean sheets and a bathtub and room service. I ordered them soup and grilled cheese and watched Emma eat like she hadn't had a full meal in days. Because she probably hadn't. Then I went home and got to work. First call, Denise Washington, my former partner at IRS Criminal Investigation, now a supervisor in the Atlanta field office. Denise and I had worked together for 15 years. She'd been at my retirement party. She picked up on the second ring. "Denise, I need your help. It's personal. My sister's husband, identity theft, credit fraud, possible money laundering. I think he's running something bigger than just a domestic scam. Send me everything you have. I'll start pulling records tonight." Second call, Fulton County Recorder's Office. I need property transfer records for a residence in Decatur, Georgia. Property owner Lisa Ann Whitfield Garrett. Sale recorded sometime in the past 4 months. By the end of that call, I had the deed transfer documents in my email. The house had sold for $287,000 in August, purchased by a company called RJG Capital Holdings, LLC. I wrote down the name and circled it 3 times. Third call, a contact at the Social Security Administration's fraud hotline. I need a full credit pull on my sister's Social Security number. She's a confirmed victim. I have her signed authorization. The report came back in 2 hours. My hand was shaking when I read it. 19 credit cards, 3 personal loans, a home equity line of credit, 2 car loans, one for a BMW registered to Ryan's friend Jake, one for a Mercedes registered to Ryan himself. Total debt accumulated in Lisa's name, $156,000. My sister, who balanced her checkbook every Sunday, who clipped coupons and packed lunches for work, who'd never carried a credit card balance in her life. Fourth call, Emory University Hospital's HR department. I have power of attorney for my sister, Lisa Whitfield Garrett. I need to verify the status of her 403B retirement account. The representative was professional and thorough. The account was closed in June, full withdrawal of $67,000. Signed authorization on file. Would you like me to email you a copy of the withdrawal form? Yes, I would. When it arrived, I stared at Lisa's signature on the form. It was close, very close. But I'd watched my sister sign her name 10,000 times, and this wasn't it. The loop on the L was too tight. The cross on the T was too high. This was someone who had practiced Lisa's signature carefully, but not carefully enough to fool the person who'd been watching her write since she was 6 years old, learning cursive at the kitchen table. Fifth call, Denise again. I've got everything. 19 fraudulent credit accounts, pension theft of $67,000, house sold for $287,000 through a shell company called RJG Capital Holdings. I need you to run that LLC. I want to know who's behind it and where the money went. Denise called back at 9:30 that night. Her voice had the edge it always got when she'd found something big. RJG Capital Holdings, registered to Ryan James Garrett and Jacob Kyle Brennan. They incorporated it 11 months ago. And Pat, it gets worse. That LLC has been used to purchase 3 other properties in the past year, all from women in similar situations. Your sister isn't the only victim. The room went quiet except for the sound of my own breathing. How many? We've identified 3 other women so far. Same pattern. Marriage or long-term relationship. Financial isolation. Forged documents. Property theft. Ryan targets the asset, the house, and Jake handles the LLC paperwork and property flips. They've moved over $2 million through this operation in the past 18 months. And the properties? Flipped, resold at market rate within 60 days. Proceeds laundered through cryptocurrency accounts and offshore transfers. Pat, this isn't a domestic dispute. This is an organized fraud ring. I sat in my kitchen in the dark, staring at the wall. My sister had been sleeping in a car with her sick child while her husband ran a multi-million-dollar fraud operation using her name, her credit, her house, her entire identity as raw material. How fast can you move? We can have a warrant package ready in 4 days. But I want it airtight. These two have been careful. 4 days. I can give you 4 days. Those 4 days, I didn't sleep much. But I wasn't idle. I hired a private investigator, a woman I'd worked with on a tax evasion case years ago. She tailed Ryan and Jake for 72 hours straight. The photos she brought back made my blood pressure spike. Ryan and Jake at an upscale steakhouse in Buckhead, bottle of wine on the table that probably cost more than the $60 a week he gave Lisa for food. Ryan at a luxury car dealership, test driving a Porsche. Ryan at a condo building I didn't recognize, letting himself in with a key while a woman I'd never seen waited for him by the elevator. He had a girlfriend. Of course he did. Probably telling her the same story, that his wife was unstable, a spender, a problem he was generously trying to manage. I contacted a family law attorney named Sharon Prescott, who was known in Atlanta legal circles as someone you did not want on the opposing side of a custody fight. I showed her everything. She looked at me over her reading glasses and said, "Your sister will have full custody, the house back, and every cent owed to her, and I will personally ensure that man never comes within 500 feet of that little girl again." I went to Emory University Hospital and sat down with Lisa's supervisor, a charge nurse named Beverly who'd known Lisa for 8 years. I explained what had happened. Beverly's eyes filled with tears. We thought she was going through a rough patch. She'd been calling in sick, looking exhausted. We almost put her on a performance improvement plan. My God. If we'd known, tell her we're holding her position. Tell her we're behind her 100%. We'll work with HR to get her benefits reinstated immediately. On day 3, Denise called with the final piece. We found the other victims. One in Marietta, one in Savannah, one in Charlotte. Same playbook every time. Ryan charms them, marries them or moves in, takes over the finances, isolates them, drains everything. Jake handles the legal entity and property transfers. They've been doing this for at least 4 years. How much total? Across all victims? Over $3 million. And Pat, one of the women in Savannah? She has a 9-year-old son. He was sleeping in a shelter for 2 months while Ryan drove a leased BMW in her name. I closed my eyes. 4 women. At least 2 children. Lives dismantled so methodically that every one of them believed it was her own fault. "We're ready to move," Denise said. "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. Federal marshals, IRS criminal investigation, and FBI financial crimes. They're coming in on this too because of the interstate wire fraud. It's a joint operation. I want to be there. You know I can't let you in on the arrest." "I know. But I want Jess to be ready to give her statement. Can you send agents to the hotel? I'll have a team there at 7. That night, I drove to the hotel. Lisa was sitting on the bed watching Emma sleep. The antibiotics were working, the cough was better, the color was coming back to her cheeks. Lisa had showered and eaten and looked more like herself than she had in months, but her eyes still had that hunted look, the look of someone waiting for the axe to fall. "Tomorrow morning," I said. "Federal agents are arresting Ryan and Jake. 6 a.m. They'll be at the Buckhead condo where Ryan's been living. Agents will come here at 7 to take your statement." She was quiet for a long time. "There are other women," she said. "Aren't there?" I paused. "How did you know?" "Because he was too good at it. The way he moved through our finances, the way he knew exactly what to say, exactly how to make me feel crazy. You don't get that good at destroying someone without practice." I sat beside her on the bed. "Yes. 3 other women that we know of. Same con. You're not the only one he fooled, Lisa. This wasn't about you being naive. This was a professional predator running a professional operation." She wiped her eyes. "I keep going back to that night 4 months ago, when I tried to check the bank accounts and he slammed the laptop shut. I knew something was wrong. I felt it in my gut. But he screamed at me for 20 minutes straight about how ungrateful I was, how he was killing himself trying to fix my mistakes, how I should be on my knees thanking him instead of sneaking around. And I apologized. I apologized to the man who was robbing me blind. That's what abusers do. They make you apologize for catching them. She looked at Emma's sleeping face. When the agents come tomorrow, I'm going to tell them everything, every detail, every lie he told me, every dollar he stole. Not just for me, for those other women too. Good. And then I want to look him in the eye in court and watch him hear the sentence. Even better. At 6:12 the next morning, Denise sent me a text. 2 words. Got them. The photos came later. Ryan and Jake in handcuffs walked out of a luxury condo that had been leased. I later learned, using one of the Savannah victims' credit. Federal marshals loading boxes of documents into vans. Ryan's face when he realized it wasn't a traffic stop or a misunderstanding. The moment it hit him that everything was over. At the hotel, Lisa gave her statement to 4 agents, 2 IRS, 2 FBI. She spoke for 3 hours. Clear, detailed, steady. She'd been keeping a mental record of everything, even when she didn't realize it. Dates, amounts, conversations, details that corroborated the financial evidence perfectly. 8 years of nursing had trained her to document and observe. Ryan had underestimated that. Emma sat with me in the hotel restaurant eating scrambled eggs and drawing pictures with the crayons the waitress brought her. She drew a yellow house with a big sun and a stick figure with curly hair standing in front of it. That's Mama's house, she told me. We're going to go back there someday. I blinked hard and said, yes, baby, someday very soon. The case moved through the federal system with the kind of momentum that happens when multiple agencies are involved and the evidence is overwhelming. Ryan's attorney tried to negotiate. Denise shut that down. The charges: 47 counts of identity theft across 4 victims, 23 counts of credit fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, pension theft, property fraud. And because Lisa and Emma had been living in a car and a motel while Ryan lived in luxury on stolen funds, and because the Savannah victim's son had been in a shelter, 2 counts of child endangerment through willful financial deprivation. Jake, who'd handled the LLC structure and property flips, faced 31 counts of his own. They both pled guilty when their attorneys told them what a jury trial would look like. 4 women testifying, 2 children's stories, and a retired IRS investigator who could explain every fraudulent transaction in language a jury would understand. Ryan got 15 years federal. No parole in the federal system. He'd be 58 when he got out. Jake got 12. Full restitution to all 4 victims was ordered. Lisa's house was returned to her name, the sale voided as a fraudulent transaction. Every credit account was cleared from her record. Her retirement savings were restored through court-ordered restitution from seized assets. The $287,000 from the house sale was recovered, plus another $94,000 in profits from the property flipping operation. The woman in Savannah got her house back too. The woman in Marietta got her retirement fund restored. The woman in Charlotte, who'd been too ashamed to go to the police, called Denise crying when she found out she wasn't crazy, wasn't a bad person, wasn't responsible for any of it. By December, 2 months after that Wednesday morning at the free clinic, Lisa and Emma moved back into their house in Decatur. I was there when they pulled into the driveway. Lisa sat in the car for a long time, engine running, just staring at the front door. Emma was bouncing in her car seat. "Mama, can I go see my room? Is it still yellow?" "It's still yellow, baby. Go ahead." Emma ran inside. Lisa stayed in the car. I opened the passenger door and sat down next to her. "You okay?" She gripped the steering wheel. "I keep expecting someone to tell me this is a mistake, that the house isn't really mine, that I have to go back to the motel. The house is yours. It was always yours. He's the one who made you forget that." She let go of the steering wheel and exhaled. A long, shaking breath, like releasing something she'd been carrying for years. Inside, Emma had already found her room. The yellow paint, the sunflowers on the wall. She was sitting on her bed, which the moving team had set up that morning, hugging her stuffed rabbit and talking to it very seriously. "We're home," she told the rabbit. "We're not leaving again." Lisa leaned against the doorframe, watching her daughter, tears rolling down her face but smiling. Really smiling. The first real smile I'd seen from her since July. The months that followed weren't easy. Lisa started therapy, a counselor who specialized in financial abuse and coercive control. She had nightmares. She'd wake up at 2 in the morning and check the locks on all the doors. She kept hard copies of every financial document in a fireproof safe she bought with her own money. But she went back to work. Beverly and the nursing team welcomed her back with flowers on her station and a card signed by every person on the floor. She picked up extra shifts. She opened new bank accounts in her name only. She rebuilt her credit one careful step at a time. And then, 6 months later, she did something that surprised even me. She started a support group, right there at Emory University Hospital. Every other Thursday evening in the community conference room for women experiencing financial abuse. She called it Clear Accounts. The first meeting, 3 women showed up. By the third meeting, it was 12. By the 6th, they had to move to a bigger room. Lisa stood at the front and said the thing that none of them had heard before. It's not your fault. You're not stupid. You were targeted by someone who studied how to deceive you, and you can get out. 1 year after that October morning at the free clinic, we threw Emma a 7th birthday party in Lisa's backyard. The same backyard where she'd planted a vegetable garden the previous spring. Tomatoes were still coming in. The sunflowers she'd planted along the fence were taller than Emma. Emma ran around the yard with her school friends, wearing a princess dress and a plastic detective badge I'd given her as a joke. She'd told her entire first-grade class that her Aunt Pat used to catch bad guys for the government. Her teacher had asked Lisa if I'd come speak on career day. Lisa came over to where I was standing by the drink table, watching the kids play. You know what Emma asked me last night? What? She asked if the bad guys ever get to come back, and I told her no, not this time. She picked up a cup of lemonade and looked out at the yard. The sunflowers. The kids laughing. The normal, beautiful chaos of a 7-year-old's birthday party. The hardest part wasn't the motel. It wasn't even the car. It was the shame. Believing that a nurse with a college degree and a good job could be so completely fooled. I kept thinking, how did I not see it? I read charts and lab values and medication interactions for a living. How could I not read my own husband? Because he wasn't a chart. He was a con artist with years of practice. He didn't just lie to you, he built an entire reality around you and sealed you inside it. That's not something you see through with education or intelligence. That's something you need someone on the outside to recognize. She was quiet for a moment. The women in my group, some of them are doctors, lawyers, executives. One of them is a CPA, Pat, a certified public accountant, and her boyfriend ran the same playbook. It doesn't discriminate. No, it doesn't. Emma came running over, face sticky with frosting, dragging her best friend by the hand. Aunt Pat, tell Sophie how you arrested the bad guys. Lisa and I looked at each other. She smiled. Maybe when you're a little older, sweetheart. But I'll tell you this much, sometimes the best superpower isn't flying or being invisible. Sometimes it's just being the person who shows up. Emma considered this with the gravity only a 7-year-old can manage. That's a boring superpower. Lisa laughed. A full, real, unguarded laugh. The kind that fills up a whole backyard. The party wound down as the sun dipped behind the trees. Parents collected their exhausted, sugar-crashing kids. Emma's best friend promised to come over Monday after school. Emma waved goodbye from the porch until every last car was gone. After Emma fell asleep that night, clutching her detective badge and her stuffed rabbit, both equally important, Lisa and I sat on the back porch. The October evening was cool but not cold. Crickets sang. A neighbor's wind chime clinked softly in the breeze. I still check behind me when I walk to my car at night, Lisa said. I still flinch when my phone rings and I don't recognize the number. That's going to take time. My therapist says I'm making progress. She says recognizing the pattern is the first step. Your therapist is right. Lisa turned to me. You know what I keep coming back to? That morning at the clinic, you could have just let me go. You could have believed what I told you, that everything was fine, that it was just a cold, that Ryan was between jobs. Most people would have. I'm not most people. I'm your sister. She reached over and squeezed my hand. That's what saved us. Not the IRS, not the FBI, not the legal system. You, just you, refusing to look away. I squeezed back. You saved yourselves too. Every night you kept Emma warm. Every day you got up and tried. You were surviving, and survival isn't passive. It's a fight. The wind chime played its quiet song. Somewhere in a federal prison in Alabama, Ryan Garrett was living the consequences of his choices. 15 years in a concrete cell, staring at walls, knowing that every property he'd stolen was returned, every dollar he'd taken was paid back, every woman he'd manipulated was free and rebuilding without him. But here on this porch, justice didn't feel like a prison sentence. It felt like a 7-year-old falling asleep safe in her own bed in her yellow sunflower room. It felt like a sister laughing again. It felt like tomatoes growing in a garden and a support group in a hospital conference room and a woman standing in front of a room full of strangers saying the words no one had ever said to her, "It's not your fault." Emma would grow up remembering some of it. The motel with the flickering sign, the coughing that wouldn't stop, the nights when Mama slept sitting up in the car so Emma could stretch out in the back seat. She'd carry some of that forever. But I believed that what she'd remember most was what came after. The aunt who showed up, the mother who survived, the sunflowers growing tall along the fence in the backyard of the house that was always, always theirs. Lisa's voice broke the silence. "I'm going to speak at the hospital's fundraiser next month, about clear accounts, about what happened to us, publicly. Are you ready for that?" She looked at the yard. The birthday streamers still hanging from the fence, Emma's plastic detective badge sitting on the porch railing where she'd left it. "Somebody told me once that family doesn't let you suffer in silence. I figure that goes for strangers too. If telling my story means one woman checks her own credit report, or one woman realizes that the voice telling her she's crazy isn't her own, then yeah, I'm ready." I nodded. I didn't say anything else. Some moments don't need words. We sat there together on the porch, two sisters, listening to the crickets and the wind chime and the quiet breathing of a little girl sleeping safe in her own room. And just that simple, ordinary peace was worth every phone call, every sleepless night, every hour of investigation. Because that's what family does. We show up, we fight, we refuse to let each other drown. And sometimes, when you're very fortunate, you have a retired IRS criminal investigator for a sister who knows exactly how to dismantle a con artist's empire, one forged signature at a time. Ryan Garrett thought he was untouchable. He thought he'd found the perfect victim's kind, trusting women who would believe him when he said they were the problem. He thought he could build a fortune on stolen identities and broken lives, and no one would ever come looking. He forgot one thing. Lisa wasn't alone. She had family. And family, real family, doesn't look away.